Hello, and welcome back to Rams Talk Podcast. And to kick us off, I just want to say a massive congratulations to the Lionesses for winning back-to-back Euros, the first ever English team to win a Euros away from English soil, which is crazy, to be honest, when you think about it and think of how many tournaments English teams have played in. But yeah, unbelievable from them. And that's why we're a little bit late. Sorry, that's the key reason we're a little bit late. But we've got loads to go through today. We're going to go through Burton, go through Walsall, and just kind of poke at the issues that we've seen, the gaps that we've got, and try and identify, what do Derby need to get to that next level and get ourselves ready for Stoke away in a couple of weeks' time. So joining me today, I've got Dan McSheffrey. How you doing, pal?
I'm good. I've promised that I'm going to have a more open-minded view this season and be a little bit fairer. So, however, I have got some things that I'd like to obviously discuss regarding the games that we've seen.
I'm sure there are. I'm looking forward to it. So to kick us off, let's talk about the Burton game. Now, Derby obviously losing 2-1. I was at the game in probably the fullest away end the Pirelli's ever seen. It was absolute chaos. And I thought overall, Derby had a couple of spells where we looked quite good, but we had a lot of spells where I don't think we looked very good at all. It looked a little bit sloppy. It looked a bit slow. Whether it was the fact that we'd played a few days before, I'm not sure. But Dan, at the start of the game, we had possibly the worst news possible. Matt Clark picking up an injury. Obviously, we don't know what that is. It's not really been confirmed what it is. It looked like he just had a little bit of tightness. Hopefully, he's absolutely fine. I'm sure he will be absolutely fine. It's just precautionary. But it's a little bit concerning, isn't it, going into the season? We've got players dropping like flies.
Yeah, firstly, I think the first half is I was driving at the time. It's the only bit of pre-season I haven't watched, but my understanding from what I heard and seen in comments was the first half was one to forget for sure. The second half was much better, but I think it goes without saying that we hope like Clark isn't injured too badly, because that strong defensive unit looks like it's going to be even more important than ever, especially if they don't sort out this sort of like forward line, if you want to call it, the creativity aspect.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I mean, looking at the comments already, Ryan Jono's saying, we desperately need some more wingers and midfielders, and Kit as well, echoing, not sure Ibu in the 10 suits the role at all, despite all his hard work. And he does work hard, doesn't he, Ibu? I mean, that's never in doubt. He's always going to graft. He's always going to put the hard work in. But Derby looked a little bit unbalanced, didn't they? I thought, across the whole game, not just the first half. And that midfield's been something that we've obviously spoken about a while. Ben Osborne seems to have fallen off the face of the earth. He must have picked up some sort of injury again. And, we had Kenzo, we had Tomo, and in front of them, we had Ibu. And it just didn't seem to work. And like you say, Dan, it felt like, as a midfield performance especially, it was really one to forget.
I think with the Ibu thing, they're working hard. It's fine against teams like Burton. It looks productive. I'm just concerned that against higher quality, if he goes on one of them runs through the middle, if it is Kenzo and Tomo that are behind him, let's just concentrate maybe on the Stoke game. I could see them getting bullied in there. So he's got to be a little bit more disciplined if he does end up starting in that advanced role. I think something that I've noticed will probably go towards it is, again, touching on the lack of attacking options. There's a term that I heard again earlier, modus operandi. So it seems to me as if Derby have always operated on a sort of like low output, maximum productivity. So we don't really have any chances in the game. So last year we created maybe 3 or 4 chances a game, if that. Maybe Jerry Yates was wasteful with it and got criticised heavily. But that goes to show really that we don't get that many chances in the game, and that's again what I seen yesterday. But yeah, reiterate on the Ebo thing. I think he needs to be a little bit more disciplined. It works against the lesser sides, maybe even the lower end in the Championship. But if it is Tomo and Kenzo, I'm really concerned, because I've not been impressed with them as a two in pre-season together. They just don't complement each other whatsoever. But that's just my opinion.
Well, that's the problem that Derby have at the minute, isn't it? And it was very present in that Burton game yesterday that Kenzo had mine, I thought. He had a couple of dodgy moments, but he had some really good moments. Obviously, we'll get onto the goal, but there were a couple of times when he carved Burton open on his own. He saw passes that other people didn't see, and he showed, really good feet in tight corners and tight positions. And he looked a really good player, and he looked like he was the only one that was going to do any damage. When you look around the rest of that Derby team ahead of the back four, you've got Ibu Adams, who, there was one point where he tried to Travella pass over about 50 yards, which was horrendous. And you've obviously got, Tomo as well, who's really good in tight spaces, again, similar to Kenzo, but he doesn't quite have that final pass in him. He'll work hard, he'll scrap, but he's more of a squad player. I think he's more of a player to come in and battle rather than a player to, have much output, like you say there. And then you look on the wings, Blackett-Taylor, I thought, had a decent game. I think he showed a couple of flashes of brilliance. But Jackson looked like he'd never seen a ball before at times yesterday. I actually felt sorry for him, to be honest. There was one in the first half where it went under his foot when he went to control it on the edge of the box. And then pretty much the last kick of the game, he went to sort of roll the ball and keep it in play and missed the ball. And it just didn't seem to work for Derby. It didn't seem to work for him. And I think that's it. I'm looking at the comments. Dan Cartwright saying we need a number 10. Dan, would you rather see us bring in a number 10? If you could only pick one, it's either a number 10 or a number 6. Which one would you rather see in this Derby team?
Well, I've always liked Derby having a controller in midfield, so probably the 6. But for me, it remains to be seen. Injuries are a massive factor. It remains to be seen whether Eustace is going to operate with that 10, because we haven't really been linked with any players that are necessarily like 10s that are going to slot in there. And at the minute, I think with the injuries, I'm probably being overly critical. Pre-season's a part of it. I don't really see a clear pattern of play. So when I talk about Kenzo and Tomo being sort of bullied and done over in there, it's more when the other team has the ball, because at the minute we seem to just knock it around at the back a little bit and then decide to just bypass the whole middle of the park and look for Jackson and Blackett-Taylor. And Jackson, half-decent pre-season. Blackett-Taylor, half-decent pre-season. I'm concerned that we're relying or looking at players that are having a good pre-seasons like them that have contributed little to nothing or not performed well for Derby. And I don't want to dig him out, but he's there. Ben Osborne. He's sort of like, they're players that, are they going to be any better than what they've been? Granted, I think Blackett-Taylor's probably had personal problems. He looked like his head wasn't in it. The manager didn't see, the previous management didn't fancy it. That controller in midfield is essential, really, because if we're going to play through the middle, which I think we should, and we were super productive going back to that term at the end of last season, and that's where we got all our results from, was sort of building through quickly, quick passes through the middle, break the lines, go. And that's who that 6 is going to be. I would go for a number 6 over a 10.
Yeah, I think I agree. That's a good point. It's a difficult one with Derby because, like you said, we did play a lot through the middle last season, but we also had wing backs, and I thought Callum Elder did what Callum Elder does. He played well yesterday, but we really lacked down the right. Looking at that first goal, Jake Rooney was all over the place for both goals. Actually, to be honest, he didn't look up to it at right back, and I think they targeted him at times, and I felt a little bit sorry for him, to be honest. And we've got 3 right backs and they're all injured at the moment, which isn't ideal at all. But yeah, like Mark Johnson says, we miss Armstrong massively. And a big part of our turnaround was having Armstrong there, that calm head. He's quite, he's not built, is he? But he's physical and he gets himself in there and he's calm on the ball. And I just don't think we have anyone like that at the club at the minute, and I think that's a gaping hole. So I think I probably agree with you, mate. It's a number 6 that we need more than anything. And I think, to be honest, once we get that number 6 and get that controller, I think we'll look a completely different team, and maybe the midfield will look a lot stronger. Yes, we probably need a few more. Looking at the comments that we've got at the minute, Adam Lilly says we need 3 centre mids. You're probably right, Adam. You're probably right, but
I agree with that.
It's that one holding midfielder we need to get first. That George Thorne, that John Eustace, that Harrison Armstrong, and that player will change this team entirely.
Respectfully, that person could be your new captain.
Yeah.
I'm looking at a guy who might even take.
Poor Ibu.
I get it, but I like Ibu as sort of that rogue operator. Like, the armband is the armband, and if you brought in a quality 6, he's the one that looks at the whole pitch. He's the one that sees everything going on around him. It's that's even if he wasn't given the armband, I want us to sign someone who could take the armband. That's the sort of quality of player that you're looking at here. It has to be right. This is not centre mid is not a position you can get wrong in the Championship. You have to get it right.
Well, we saw that, didn't we? When there's talk in the comments already about Ozo coming back, which I'd be very surprised if I'm honest. Be very surprised for the simple reason that he's never fit. And if you bring Ozo back, you're suddenly in the same position we were in start of last season, where it was, we're playing really well. Ozo's injured. Our whole midfield's ruined. And that was the way it fell apart. We lost that holding midfielder, that big, strong midfielder that had controlled the game, and we just fell off a cliff. So, yeah, I'd like us to bring someone in. I don't know if Ozo's the man, or if we do bring Ozo in, I'd like us to bring someone else as well, because we can't be reliant on him to do that number 6 role at all. Mark Johnson's got a question about Danny Bart, who he thinks he looks a bit rusty. I think he had a decent game. I think the hard bit was, Jake Rooney needed a lot of guidance at right back. I think he looked really out of position. And to be honest, I think that's probably the worst I've seen him play for Derby. And he looked miles off it. So I think part of the problem was he was having to cover for Rooney a lot of the game yesterday. I thought he was really good in Salzburg. I thought he looked really up for it. Maybe it's just because it's, we're playing against League One, League Two teams. He's taken his foot off the gas a little bit in pre-season. I don't know. But Dan, what have you made of Danny Bart so far?
I think losing your partner after 5 minutes in the game or whatever it was is always going to affect your performance. I think it was after 5 minutes he went off, or was it something like that?
Yeah.
For me, he's been around that long. You could have watched him, but he's always seemed like a player to me that 90% of the game he's fantastic, but he has got that moment. He's got that moment in him, especially if players press him, which we obviously seen in the Walsall game. I'm not too concerned about him obviously starting the season. Do I think he'll be the starting centre back by the end of it? If it plays out the way it should, then Langas should play. I think he's good cover. I don't think we really should get too concerned about that. I'd be more concerned with the forward areas. I think the defence is going to be competent enough in the first 5, 6, 10 games of the season before we start getting the likes of Curtis Nelson back integrated, the likes of Langas back in. I think losing Matt Clark yesterday shot him in the stomach, so to speak.
Yeah, I think part of the problem as well is it's pre-season, and I don't think you can judge too much. I mean, if you remember last pre-season, we got pummeled by Barnsley, if I remember rightly, or did we draw in the end? I think we clawed back a draw. Did we lose 4-3? Something like that. We got hammered by Chesterfield.
I remember that was a McGoldrick, not a McGoldrick. The Barnsley one was
Hourihan scored, did he?
It was Jerry Yates did a 1-2 with Mendes Lang, and we all thought this is the partnership that we've been looking for, and obviously that didn't work out.
Yeah,
and then the Chesterfield game, less said about it, the better, really.
I know it was horrendous, and it was awful our last pre-season, and then we went into the league and had a really good start and looked really solid at the back. So I don't think I'd read too deeply into individual performances. Like Jake Rooney, he might turn up at Stoke if we've got nobody fit and play a blinder. But yeah, I just give players time. I think that's my analysis of it. But Dan, that first half was turgid, if I was going to use the word. It's horrendous. It was boring. It was too hot because there were about 50,000 people in the 1,000 person space in that away end. And then second half, Derby kind of turned it on a bit. Agbor Akizu, who hit the bar in the first half, was unlucky, to be fair. I thought he did all right. But when he came off for Carlton Morris, the game changed, and suddenly Derby had a bit of an outlet. Morris was running into the channels. He was helping to create chances, and Derby looked a lot stronger, I thought. That's good. It's good that new signings are coming in and making the team look a lot better. But when you look at the goal, Kenzo Houdmine picks up the ball, probably 25, 30, 40 yards from goal, picks out an unbelievable pass through to Ibu Adams, who somehow manages to knock it round the keeper for Blackett-Taylor to have a tap in. I mean, like you say, Derby didn't create a massive amount of chances, did they? They didn't really trouble the Burton goal too often, but that was a moment of genuine quality.
I think, anyway, kudos on the pronunciation of his name. Maybe if he scores for a few more goals for the first team, I'll go out my way to learn it. But I was super happy for him in the Walsall game to get that goal. That was my only moment of that game which I actually enjoyed. But I think Kenzo picks out that pass. You find him in the forward areas. my concern is I just don't think we're ever going to see him where we want to see him on the football pitch. I think there's some reason, there's always going to be a reason why he's not where he's meant to be, where he's not playing where he's meant to be. He picks out the pass, Ibu breaks the line. Again, would better opposition maybe have tracked Ibu's run? Possibly. But Blackett-Taylor's sort of stepped up really in pre-season. He's been the only shining light. I can only hope that he sort of carries this into the season, because it kind of looks a little bit like a one-man show at the minute in that forward area, which is not what we want to be seeing, particularly with just under 2 weeks now.
Well, that's it. And that's the problem Derby have at the moment, is that, we've got two wingers and one of them's Jackson. No fault of his own. He's just clearly not the type. Well, he's not a winger. I say this every week on the pod. He's not a winger. He's a striker that should play in a front two. But we're never going to do that to facilitate him. So I think we're relying on him, and it's good that he's stepping up. To be honest, it's good that he's stepping up and giving the fans some excitement. He's scored 3 times as many goals this pre-season as he has in a Derby shirt in his 1.5 years before. So he's clearly doing something right. But Luke Chapman's made a good point. We're not going to get all the players Eustace wants in one transfer window. We need to be patient. You're right. However, there's vital places that we need to do. Otherwise, we probably will end up getting battered. I think if we don't get a holding mid, we will die. That's my honest review of it. Which
you're going to get bullied. You're going to get bullied.
Oh, yeah.
Like, teams are going to see that. It's not rocket science. You look at it straight away and go, let's just go for the heart of them because they're soft. That's what it feels like. Particularly even these League One teams, these two in the last week. And no disrespect, because I like both clubs that we played in the last week. I think they're good little clubs, but they've targeted it as well. Really, I think Kenzo yesterday. I think there was a passage of play where he nearly lost it, and then literally about 3 seconds later, he got intercepted in a dangerous area because he's dilly-dallying. He's trying to be that sort of like European style deep line playmaker where he's got loads of time, and it's just not the way that it's going to be for him. And I was hoping really after 12 months, coaching teams and that would have got that out of him, where he's sort of dilly-dallying. He can do that in the attacking areas because he's meant to be there. He's meant to be doing them things, but certainly not in front of our own 18-yard box. I don't want to be seeing him trying to pirouette out.
Yeah, that's fair enough. It just is the way players play, isn't it? I'd rather he looked for the pass than just hoofed it clear, to be honest. In pre-season, it doesn't matter, does it? But yeah, I know what you mean. But again, I think that's the thing. He's not getting the opportunity to play where he's best. I'd probably say, I know people say number 10. He's probably a good number 8. I think he'd be really good as a number 8. You get a strong holding midfielder behind him, get a runner next to him, and let him be the man that picks the passes. And you'd find very quickly he's always in the right area of the pitch. Think of some of the games we've won. That Portsmouth game where he nutmegged that guy twice in a row in about 5 seconds, and Luton where he ended up in a forward position, put a lovely ball over for Jackson. They're just a couple off the top of my head. He's
the West Brom against West Brom.
Yeah, West Brom
stuff. He's just being wasted. I think we can all see it. We're all saying the same thing, but on top of that, which I'm not liking. That this happened when he played last year as well. We bypassed the midfield anyway, so you're either going to do it or you're not going to do it. If he's the type of midfielder that Eustace wants here, then he'll stay. But if he's not going to use him for where he should, he can't. I just can't see him putting a run of games together for us.
Yeah, well, we'll definitely find out, won't we? Ryan Jono says, are there any midfielders you'd get if not Oza or Armstrong? Alex Sala from the Spanish second. I'm Eustace. I should have used my time with Eustace on the pitch to say that. Please, Eustace, sign him. I'm telling you, if you're the best.
That's why you were late. It weren't the football.
Yeah,
you were watching compilations on YouTube.
I've watched them all already, mate. I've already watched them all. I think the reason why we're setting up with the midfield we have is because Ibu can't hold position. He runs around too much. He's not a defensive midfielder. He's a centre mid that could win the ball back, isn't he? He presses, he works hard. He can't sit deep. He's not disciplined enough. So that's why you end up with Tomo and Kenzo, who are a lot more disciplined, having to try and play that role and make it up because there's no one else to do it. That's why Osborne plays there when obviously he's fit as well. And I think we just need that player. I'm going to keep banging on about it. I will never stop saying the words holding midfielder because that's all we have. But looking at the rest of that game, obviously they scored again. I think it was Beasley peeled off
Poor goal.
Rooney.
Poor goal for me.
Rooney's lost his man again. And yeah, to be fair, he actually takes it really well. It's a really good finish.
Isn't that the guy that bagged 2 against us a couple of years ago?
No idea, mate.
He scored against us 2 against us at Pride Park for Blackpool, I think.
Probably. I wouldn't be surprised.
So he's got a bit of a history.
He does. But yeah, he took his goal well and we just couldn't break through, which is standard Derby. But Carlton Morris, mentioned him already. What did you make to his first outing in black and white?
Big centre forward. You got to get people in and around him. And the way that we're going to see the best out of him is if you provide him with ammunition. So again, we're going to keep coming back to what we've been saying. They've got to address this because there's no point having a good focal point striker who likes getting inside the 18-yard box on the end of things if there's no one providing that ammunition for him. But apart from that, I did like the way he comes short, got some touches, looked to link the play, but then there really wasn't any runners off him. So he ended up, I think there was one in particular where he did rise very high, take it on the chest well. But then the only option he had was the left back because there's no one turning or running off him, like say our old favourite Craig Bryson used to do. He had to put it back to a left back and then the move's sort of dead. Like, because he's 30, 40 yards from goal. The wingers have sort of stopped their run. I think there's high potential with him to score a few goals for us this season, but only if we address the glaring transfer issue.
Yeah, definitely. And a man that was on the bench didn't actually end up featuring in the end. I think it was a little bit too early for him in his Derby career. Owen Beck. Now, Derby signed him on loan from Liverpool. He signed a contract extension there as well, which was disappointing because I was hoping he was in his last year. I was thinking, ooh, we could get something here. But no, he signed an extension at Liverpool, which makes sense. And I think he's a really good signing. I think he's one of those that he's got masses of potential and he grew a huge amount at Blackburn last year. I can only see him growing again this year as well, which should benefit us a lot. We've got Callum Elder, we've got Craig Forsyth. We've now got a young lad coming in to challenge them. I think him and Elder are going to fight out for the shirt with Forsyth, probably more of a centre-back this season or centre-back cover. So it looks positive, doesn't it, Dan? It's the sort of signing that you want Derby to make. We talk about our loans in the loan market. We made a couple of good ones last year, obviously Armstrong. We made a couple of bad ones last year, like Chirewa. I mean, it's good to see Derby kicking off their loans early and getting someone in that will make a real difference.
Well, I think there's a couple more at Liverpool that they should be looking at as well as a couple of names that have already been bandied about. We go with Diaz is going, isn't he? This week
he'll be fine.
I think you'll see is the classic. You'll see Elder start against Stoke. It'll be like reserve Beck. Don't throw him straight in there. I'm against that completely. I just think we throw him straight in there, particularly as the kid, from what I've seen, likes to go forward and is actually quite good at it. If we don't address this issue of the attacking play, we're going to be relying sort of hopefully Kane Wilson. We won't be there for that, but hopefully we are going to see our fullbacks pushing forward and helping out because we're short on numbers. But the lad looks good. He looks like the kind of player that we should be getting on loan. I want to see us get a couple more in. Hopefully a permanent signing for the holding midfielder. Yeah,
definitely. That would make a big difference. I've got the dog in the comments asked how much do we rate Charles Ebuka Abuwadikizu. I mean, I was quite impressed with him, actually. I thought he did really well off the bench. I think he's going to be one of them where if he does feature, he'll come off the bench and just be a nuisance. I think he kind of drifted out the game a little bit at Burton, but he's big, he's strong. And in that Walsall game, Danny, he got off the mark in a Derby senior shirt. I mean, he looks a handful, doesn't he? He looks a real handful. We saw it before. He's finally got off the mark. He's got on the score sheet. It's actually a really good goal, wasn't it, by the young lad?
Very good goal.
Lovely ball to the back post. Back across.
I actually liked the reverse. I liked the way the player actually reversed it back across. I think one thing I actually wrote it down in my notes from the Walsall game was I thought the kids were better than the seniors.
Yeah.
To be totally honest with you, and that's not a good look really for the senior guys. So they maybe need to sort of look at that. But I'm happy for the guy. The one thing I'd say with that, it was my favourite moment in the game because it was refreshing to see someone come from the academy and do that. If you are him, though, how do you think someone like Dej would feel if he goes out on loan and this lad possibly gets the chance and stuff? It's sort of, you threw Dej in there last year. It kind of worked. He only obviously scored 1 goal, but he did contribute. Particularly, I thought he was really good in the Coventry away game when they started 2 up front. But how would you feel really about if you were Dejan Brown and this sort of lad's gone? He's kind of gone ahead of him now in the pecking order.
I think the thing is that he offers something different. And I think it's less of a, he's come from the academy and he's now in front. I think he's a different answer because Dejan Brown is not particularly big. I don't think. He's not like 6'3", 6'4". He's not massive. He's not that quick. I think he's a good finisher. He gets in the right places and he's a good finisher, but I don't know how far that'll take him. You see him at Gateshead, he looks unbelievable. I think he had a couple of good games at Derby. Obviously took his goal really well against Hull at home, which turned out to be an important point in the end. But I think Agboardikiza just offers something different. I mean, don't get me wrong, we're going to have a few giants coming in at the minute, and maybe it's just because he suits the style of play a bit more, but the players are playing off him and they were using him as a target. And I thought when he hit the bar, he was really unlucky. He rolled his defenders so well. He's playing against senior defenders. It was Toby Civic, who, he's played in League One for 3-4 years. And he just rolled him easily, made it look really easy before smacking the bar. And I think for that reason, he's just a bit of a handful. And I don't think Dejan Brown was ever a handful. I think he's just one of those that pops up in the right place. He'll probably score you 10, 15 goals a season at League Two level or something like that. But he's never one that's going to really grow, which is disappointing because he's got a lot of promise and hopefully he proves me wrong. But yeah, that's my thought on it anyway. That's why I just think he's a different kind of player.
Well, the likelihood of it is, do you keep him around to play in, say, cup games and give him 5-minute cameos at the end of games? He's not going to be starting games. Let's be honest. We're in a pretty bad situation if he's having to start games. But that's not disrespectful to the lad, by the way. That's just simply we should sort of be pushing on a little bit more than that. Do you keep him around just to play in the cup games early on and give him 5 minutes, or do you send him out on loan? And where do you send him out on loan to? Because he's still extremely unknown to everyone.
He's 17.
Fan base. Yeah,
he's 17, which you don't think when you see him play. He's 17 years old, which means that I think he'll just play for the 18s and 21s this season, to be honest, and be a backup. I mean, look at the options we've got. Patrick Adjiman obviously coming in. We haven't seen anything of him yet. Carlton Morris, who's just come in, another player of maybe a not too dissimilar mould. You've got Salverson, who I thought was good before his injury last season. You've got a fair few players in front of him in the pecking order. I think for him, it'd be great for him to get experience at under 21 level, keep building, keep training at Derby. And I think for Dejan Brown, it's time for him to get out on loan and show what he can do. He's been linked with Bristol Rovers in League Two over the last couple of days. So, if he went to Bristol Rovers, he'd be brilliant. He'd do a really good job there. A team that wants to push towards the top of League Two. That's great experience for him. And if he can grow as a player and improve his overall game, that'd be great. But yeah, I think for he's got to cement his place in the U team first, really work on his game and really develop, and give it a year or so. And I reckon he'll probably end up out on loan and probably a similar path to Dejan Brown, although hopefully...
I'd be surprised if Dej actually goes out, if Adjiman and Salverson looking like they're a hell of a long way off, sort of being around it. I mean, do you really think we'd risk going into the Stoke game with just sort of a half-fit Carlton Morris? Sort of whatever.
I don't know. I don't know if he'd be half fit. I mean, we've got 2 more pre-season games before then, and he's been training the whole time. If he hadn't been training, I'd be like, fair play. But he's been training the whole time. He might not be fully match sharp, but I'm not sure.
The injury situation it looks concerning, though. To be fair, but I think someone estimated a figure of 12 potentially. If you believed everything you hear online, but like it sort of stood at about 12 players out, and I was like, wow. We haven't even kicked a ball in anger, and there's 12 players injured already.
Well, in my thoughts, I'd rather have 12 players out now than have 12 players out.
I agree with this.
Yeah.
I agree with this. It's not how you start, it's how you finish.
Yeah, it certainly is. I mean, Jim in the comments has said, is Armstrong still available for loan? I mean, he might be. He's having pre-season with Everton. I think if he does go out on loan, it'll be right at the end of the window. I mean, imagine if we got him, if we signed a hole in mid, and then last day of the transfer window, we bought Armstrong in, we'd have some midfield then. But no, it certainly looked good. But yeah, like you mentioned, I think with regards to the young lads looking better than the senior lads, I think that especially in that Walsall game, when you look at it, I think the young lads just put a lot more effort in. I think he's just working really
Hmm.
hard. And I would as well. You know, if I was 17, 18 and I was playing for Derby in a friendly, I would be doing absolutely everything I could to impress the manager. You're playing at 100%. I think the senior players have probably played at 70, 75% because they don't need to, you know, go into tackles. They don't need to make lung busting runs and risk hurting themselves, something like that. There's no reward for them because they're already in the first team and they know that. So I think these sort of games, you might see a little bit more energy from the young lads. But
We can't forget either, Jake, that like some of these guys are were really before Eustace coming in, even when Eustace just come in, a couple of these guys were on the peripheral of the first team. We've seen
yeah,
Wilden come on away at Swansea. Cruz Allen's name's been shouted about for a long time now. It's a shame we haven't seen him this pre-season. And is it Freddie Turley? Like the little bits of him that I've seen. Do you know what I mean? I think he was actually on that right hand side. Is that Jake gone? It looks like it's just me.
Max a button on my mouse then accidentally. I don't know how I did that.
You're lucky I'm fantastic looking. At least they had something good to stare at. Do you know what I mean?
I hope you didn't sit in silence. I really hope you didn't sit in silence.
No,
Freddie...
I try not to. But yeah, he's looked really good. I think he was on the right hand side, wasn't he, for the winner against Walsall and stuff. So
yeah,
I'd like to see a couple of these come through. I said this in the chat when we were talking last year. Like I know we're looking to push on and progress and stuff like that, but I think you got to take a risk with one or two of these. It's a low risk, high reward situation. I don't think we'll be anywhere near relegation. Yeah, I
well,
may eat them words, jinx it, but I don't think we will.
well, that's the thing. I think Derby need to get into a position where we're confident we're not going to be doing that. You know, putting a lot of pressure on the young lads historically doesn't usually end too well for a lot of teams. And I wouldn't like to see us, you know, throwing in a Cruz Allen in a crunch clash because he could, I mean, don't get me wrong, he could pull out a 10 out of 10 game. But if you're relying on players with little experience in these big games, it might be difficult. But again, like you say, it would be nice to see some of the young lads blooded in. And I think we will, but I think it's going to be the ones that really stand out. I think a lot of the younger lads that we're talking about are 17, 18. You know, the academy took a bit of a hammering over administration. A lot of the good young lads coming through at the minute are only 17, 18, you know, they've come from the 15s, they've come from the 16s and have grown through over the next couple of years. So, yeah, I'm sure we'll see a few. I'm sure John Eustace will have a couple of things up his sleeve. I've got no doubt. So, Dan, let's have a look forwards and look at the two games we've got coming up. Solihull Moors in midweek. We've also got Atromitos FC. What a side. I think they qualified for Europe, if I'm not mistaken. So they're clearly going to be a decent side. They finished, what, 6th in the Greek Super League last season, which isn't too bad in fairness. So they've got something about them. It's going to be a different test for Derby. Firstly, Solihull Moors, because, you know, we've played a couple of League One teams. We've played a couple of League Two teams, a non-league side now in Solihull Moors. It'll be an interesting clash, won't it? Who are you looking forward to seeing most?
I shall like to attend that. It is probably only about 15 minutes from my house, so I'm looking to attend that game on Tuesday. Hopefully I can finish work early enough. I think you're starting to see more of the starting 11 against Stoke now. You start to see him give more minutes to players. They need Cole Morris sharp, so he needs to start. They need him to get back up to sort of full match fitness. Yeah, like I said, the young lads, like again, I'd probably go with 75, 80% of the starting 11 against Stoke and just stick a couple of the young lads in there as well because they deserve it. I think Gordon, name we haven't mentioned, but he's been spoken about a lot. I mean, we're talking about this, we need right back, we need left back cover, this and that. I think that guy's covered himself in glory. Like, from what I've seen, he looks really composed, big lad, quick, defensively astute, knew what he was doing. I thought he was very good against Salzburg. Like that was an impressive performance. Maybe start him in there with Beck. I think someone tried to say yesterday that Beck had an injury or something, which is why he actually didn't come on. He didn't come on because he. But let's say, for instance, I would have no problem with sticking Gordon in there, and I would actually like to see Gordon stay around and maybe break into the first team this year, because I think the fullbacks that we've brought through over the last sort of 5, 6, 7 years, well, you've seen one now in Archie Brown or whatever, which is he's left us and gone and made someone else a lot of money. I'd probably 75-80% of the starting 11 against Stoke is going to be there, and then you stick a couple of young lads in. But I hope to be attending, hopefully.
No, that'd be good, mate. Yeah, it'd be good to see Gordon in. I think he's had his trial in that position now, and I think Jake Rooney had his trial, and I don't think he did very well. So I think we'll be seeing a lot more of Gordon, to be honest, over the next couple of games, especially with Wilson having a slight injury in his knee. I mean, it happens when you come back from injury and you pick up other small injuries because your body try and compensate a little bit, and it's a bit frustrating, but it is what it is. And yeah, it's likely to have a bit of an impact on the team, having.
Well, we rely on Wilson so much.
Well, that's it. And he carried the ball really well at times, Gordon did, in that Salzburg friendly, like you said. So yeah, it'd be nice to see him involved. But Atromitos, now, like I said, they're a bit of an unknown quantity, but they've clearly got quality as well. They're going to be coming to Derby. They're very close to the start of their season as well. It's going to be really interesting to see how it shapes up. I genuinely don't know what to expect. It's I've seen a bit of Greek football in my time. I don't know where they stand with regards to some of the better teams up there, but how do you see it going?
Full starting 11 that starts 7 days onwards from that against Stoke. I am going to go out, touch wood on a whim here, and I hope that we see another signing before Saturday in the forward areas. We have dropped a few signings sort of out of nowhere in the past, so I'm hoping that something's close to coming through. So hopefully we see a new attacker in there. I don't know anything about them. I won't sit here and claim to know anything about that team, and I probably won't ever know anything about them after this Saturday. I just hope Derby go out in front of what is going to be a small crowd, and just get some confidence, put some balls in the net, and just get ready for Stoke. That's what it is. It's the last test. This is the marquee pre-season game, and you kind of know, what was it Valla did last year? I think Ozo scores a goal, and you're like, right, this guy, he's the new Taribo West, but higher up the football pitch. I just want to see us go out there and really just a pattern of play would be nice, because I think we've been a bit disjointed over these pre-season games. Just a clear indication of how we're going to play against Stoke without giving it all away for Matt Robbins to capitalise on.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I'm just looking at Atromitos's fixtures. They play us, and then they play Lazio away, and then they've got Panathinaikos in the Greek Cup before playing Thessaloniki away. So what a run of games that is.
It's nice to see they're stepping down, like biggest club first, and then Lazio. Do you know what I mean? So
Absolutely. And Jim says 70 minutes versus the Greek side in the starting 11. Yeah, I agree. I certainly agree. So thank you very much for listening. We've had to fight through England taking forever to win a game. We've had to fight through a last-minute dropout as well. But I think we've done all right, Dan. I think we've done a good job today. If you did enjoy, please do leave a like. Please do subscribe. Let us know your thoughts in the comments as well. It's always good to see what you guys think. You've certainly made yourselves known on the live ones, so it'd be good to see what you think on the normal comments as well. And we'll have a read of each one and see what we think as a team too. So thank you so much for listening. 2 very exciting games upcoming for Derby now. Will they win them? I don't think it matters, but as long as it gets us ready for Stoke, that's what matters most. So any parting words, Dan? Any you can get us fired up, get the team ready for Solihull. Come on. Let's...
Well, I'll be there, so you'll hear me moaning somewhere. I'll end really as what I said. I'm going to be more open-minded. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to call out something when I want to call it out, but I do hope we get this situation sorted with the transfers and that, because after we stayed up last year, I mean, there can be a slight bit of delusion with how far you can go the next year, but I do think the fan base, up to about sort of week or two ago, maybe, they were really up for it. And it was like the excitement was there. This transfer situation seems to be lingering. So let's get it sorted. Let's get 2 or 3 attacking players through the door, because I think, again, no disrespect to Stoke City, I do think it is a good opening game for us. Hopefully we can go there and get a result. But first of all, we've got to beat the biggest team that I've ever seen come to Pride Park in Astrominus.
They'll beat us 12-0 now, and we deserve it as well after you said.
By the way, the worst club badge ever. If anyone hasn't gone and looked at their club badge, this club badge really is it's a shocker. It's like a 3-year-old has come up with that. I invite all the Greek Rams supporters to come and see me, so it's fine.
There you go. Anyone on video? I've got it up on screen. Yeah, it's not great.
Yeah.
It's not great. Right, we're done. Thank you very much. It's goodbye from me.
And it's goodbye from me.
Up the Rams. 2 big games to go before we start the season, and we will see you soon. Goodbye.